One thing with cold calls is that there is a pre anxiety where you're
Too
like,
much.
what will I say, right?
Yeah.
And then there is a post anxiety if you get rejected. You're totally crestfallen, and again that cycle repeats, right? You don't want to go for the next thing. You said that, you know what, I'll just text them on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
or I'll just email. Cold calling and all, I can't take it. This is bad for me. So yeah, how do you overcome that?
So it took me a lot of time to overcome this, because I just sit and before my cold call sessions, I should literally sit and think, okay, if I do this like this, and if something like this happens, what that person will think. And then I had my, like, I spoke with my manager, I spoke with a lot of people who had
Hmm.
who were there in the industry for a long time, and I got one answer that, see, for you it is important because you are doing those cold calls, you will remember those cold calls. For that person, it doesn't matter. It's like one of those 100 cold calls they get, they won't remember your name, what you have done, if you have done anything wrong or something, like you messed up your pitch, they won't remember. You can cold call them again like 2 days later and it will be same. So that mindset shift, that no one is thinking about you, no one cares about you, so
Hmm.
that helped me a lot. So in right now,
Hmm.
whenever I do my cold calls, I have this one mindset that I'll do my best. I'll control what I can control from my end, that is dialing. And whenever
Hmm.
someone picks up, I'll be at my best, like pitching them or asking them the right questions. If they don't have time, if they don't have interest, if they hang up on my face, these are all things that I can control. It won't bother me. And
Yeah.
also, I know it's very easy to say right now, but yeah, I have been through that process. Another thing, it might sound silly, but initially when I started doing cold calls, I
Hmm.
used to reward myself. Now how do I just to do that? Let's suppose I should tell myself that today I'll do, let's say, 30 cold calls, 30 calls I'll dial, and if I complete those things, I'll reward myself after those cold calls, anything.
Hmm. Right,
So
right.
that's how it helps me to do this session of cold calling. And later, if I complete that, I know some reward is waiting for me. Those are the initial days, how you start and you control your anxiety, all this stuff. Right now, after doing this for 2 years, more than 2 years, I feel I just go and do my cold calls and all those stuff.
Right, right, right. That's that's great actually. And generally turning objections into opportunities gracefully,
Yeah,
it's a skill which
it is.
only comes through practice. Yeah, practice and a sense of internalized confidence, right? Like, it's okay if I don't get into this. If I don't get this person on a demo, I'll
Hmm.
move on. I'll get someone else. Yeah, and I talked to Saurabh from Sales Robot, right? Like the one where they have the basically sales for LinkedIn, right? They automate everything
Right.
and all of that for LinkedIn. He told me very frankly that to be good at sales, you need to be shameless. That is the
Absolutely.
first requirement to be in sales and to be actually successful in sales. Yeah, that's actually a great advice. One more thing I'd also like to add to your rejections and cold call stuff, right? Some people actually freeze when they call the prospect,
Yeah.
right? And by some people, it's me. So
Yeah.
I think it's a part of the problem, right? People don't get that confidence because they've been rejected so many times. There is no way they'll think that today I'll maybe the person
Right.
to speak, but that's not the case, right? It doesn't matter five people rejected you yesterday. That doesn't mean you'll not get another five people to actually talk to you today. So how do you, again, another, I'm saying that, how do you keep yourself sane while all of these happens?
Yeah, so I feel what you do after your work, what habits you have after work is very important. If you're in sales, for me, I would say my fitness routine, my meditation, and spending time with my family after work has helped me. Because as you see,
Hmm.
rejections are bound to happen in sales. Like, you can be the greatest salesperson in the world and get rejected, and it is bound to happen, and it is not in your control. So
Yeah.
to keep yourself sane, I think and I understand, like, we get anxiety when we don't hit our targets. We get anxiety
Hmm.
when we see that we lose one of our biggest deals, maybe. And but these things sometimes we can't control, right? So I feel it's very important that you have a set of habits that you implement outside your work, and it is
Yeah.
very important to have. One being good sleep. I'm telling this to myself. One being good sleep. And apart from that, during like in your work, what you can do, one of the best thing is practice. If you see good athletes, I'm talking about like top athletes, Virat Kohli, let's say Messi, Ronaldo, they practice insanely. Like
Yeah.
I've heard about Ronaldo, he goes to the ground first and leaves at the last. So the amount of practice he does at that age right now, and he's the best. We all know he's the best
Yeah.
athlete, best footballer. So if you want to be the best salesperson, like you need to do a lot of practice. You need to do a lot of mock cold calls, mock need to do a lot of mock DMs. If you need to have those skills at your end, because if you do those stuff, you will, when you actually go onto the pitch or actually go do those calls in real life, you will think, okay, I've done this 100 times with my manager or with my colleagues. I can pull this
Hmm.
off. Have that confidence out of those practice. And I
Yeah.
feel practice and coaching is very important. Like even right now, I actually take my weekends to learn new stuff. Like all these AIs in sales coming up, I learn all this stuff because even though I have got some kind of experience, I know I need to implement new stuff because in sales, something or the other changes every day. Right now, what is a new cold call opener, it will become like it wouldn't be new, let's say in next quarter or next 3 4 months, next year also. It will be something that everyone is using. And that opener is now it's not something that is unique. Now you have to implement something new opener or something a new framework about emails. So you have to implement and you have to take yourself to the next level every time as a salesperson.
Absolutely. I think one more thing to add to your thing is that even though sales is a very taxing job and nobody can teach you sales apart
Yeah,
from yourself, and then again it comes through experience and all, it's an ever changing field, right? It's very
ever change.
dynamic. Yeah, and that's why people stick to it. If you are passionate about it, yeah, it's a very interesting field to be
And
in.
rewarding.
Yeah, yeah, and very rewarding.